Who says you have to spend a ton of money on a gaming PC? Meet the Boson and see what you can do for just $300. I've done a lot of gaming PC builds, and people are always asking for cheaper and cheaper options. Now, while it's totally possible to build yourself a computer for very cheap, however, the gaming part of gaming PC is kind of important. With the Boson, you're looking at a $300 PC that's not only very easy to build, but it can also handle nearly any game you throw at it. Jump into Bioshock Infinite, and we're looking at a totally playable 41 frames per second on medium at 720p. Move over to Grid 2, and you can notch the settings up to medium at 1080p and still get just over 36 FPS. With League of Legends, you can keep the graphics maxed at 1080p and still see frame rates in the 40s with occasional dips into the 30s. Minecraft also works fine as long as you turn the render distance down a bit. Popping VSync on can help smooth things out as well. Finally, run the Boson through the 3D Mark Firestrike benchmark, and you'll see it stacks up fairly well against many of my much more expensive builds. Now, don't expect to crush games at 4K with the Boson, however most games are perfectly playable at 720p or even 1080p in some cases. Powering the build is AMD's new Athlon 5350 APU. This features a quad-core CPU clocked at just over 2 GHz, hardly something to blow you away, but it's enough for most games. It also contains decent onboard graphics, which while we aren't using them for this build, if gaming really isn't your priority, you could actually skip the dedicated graphics card and bring the entire price of the Boson down to less than $250. Speaking of the graphics card, the Asus Radeon R7 is what turns the Boson into an actual gaming PC. With 2GB of DDR3 memory and a single slot, low power package, the 240 gives quite a bit more gaming performance to the build. Paired with our APU, the R7 strikes a nice balance between performance and price. Putting it all together, we have a Gigabyte AM1M S2H motherboard. Like most AM1 boards, you won't find a lot of extra features, although you do have a pair of SATA 3 ports, along with 2 USB 3.0 ports built in. One nice thing about this build is that while the Athlon 5350 is the highest end APU for this platform at the moment, it should support future upgrades of even faster APUs a little later on. For memory, we're using 4GB of Crucial Ballistic Sport memory. Clocked at 1600 MHz, this is the fastest stuff our build supports out of the box, and should be enough for most any game the Boson can handle. Like the APU though, you can feel free to upgrade this to 8 or even 16GB of RAM later on. With 1TB of capacity, the Seagate Barracuda hard drive gives you plenty of storage for games, pictures, video, and whatever else you want to keep on your PC. One of my favorite parts of building your own computer is that you can customize basically everything, and the hard drive is no exception. So if you'd like, you can always add a second hard drive to the build, or even an SSD if you like. For the case, we're using a Rosewell FBM01. This is a micro ATX chassis with a front 120mm fan and an 80mm exhaust fan around back. You've also got the usual things, like USB and audio jacks up front, along with a built-in 450 watt power supply. I usually don't like to use power supplies built into cases, however since the entire Boson only requires just over 60 watts at load, it should be just fine. Altogether, for $300 you're getting a killer little gaming build. Of course, prices change all the time, so I will have a link in the description which goes over all the different parts of the build. Also, I did a full tutorial showing you step by step how to put the entire Boson together from scratch. So if you guys want to see that link will also be in the description of this video. Anyway guys, I'm going to give a huge shout out to Audible for making this video possible. Audible.com is a leading provider of audiobooks with more than 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, non-fiction, and periodicals. Right now, Audible is offering a free audiobook if you try them out, and that includes the excellent A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. I'm a huge fan of the Game of Thrones books and TV show, and A Feast for Crows is easily one of my favorite books in the series. To download A Feast for Crows or another audiobook for free, just head over to audible.com/Austin. Audible has always been a huge supporter of the channel, so if you want to keep seeing gaming PC videos like this, definitely be sure to go to audible.com/Austin and give them a shot. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.